Today I'm going to talk to you about book reviewing. Why do we do it? How do we do it? And what to avoid. Let's start with what's the point of book reviewing. The short answer is that academic book reviews exist so that scholars can get a sense of the relevance of a given book to their scholarship. So before you decide if you're gonna read a book, which is a big task, you go into a book review, you choose a relevant venue, a relevant journal, and you read the book review from that journal because sometimes the same book has reviews from several journals. And this gives you a sense how much the book is relevant to your own scholarship. Then we come to the second question. Should you write a book review? Okay, so what's the upside of writing a book review? So there are several upsides. First of all, it adds something to the CV, especially if you're an early career scholar and you need to somehow fill the pages with content. Yes, a book review is not high in the food chain of published works. Of course, journal articles and monographs are at the top of this hierarchy, and then we have something like commissioned work or commentary. And book reviews are by the end of the hierarchy, but still they are there. It's not nothing. Another incentive is to force yourself to carefully read a book. It seems funny, but scholars, including early career scholars, find it hard to read books and long text. So here you forcing yourself, as it were, to go over the entire book and analyzing it carefully. Another incentive is to be up to date to current scholarship. So book reviews are written for books that came out fairly lately, and so by definition it helps you stay up to date with scholarship in your field. Another incentive is to get experience in academic writing. So if you haven't written yet something which was actually published, then this is one opportunity to do that. Book reviews are short, and so you get to practice your academic writing, but you don't have to commit yourself to a large project. Another thing is for name recognition. So scholars usually find a few venues in which they publish a lot of the work. And book reviews can be good opportunities to remind people that you're a scholar in this field, especially if you're in a period in which you didn't have a lot published in that venue for a while. So a book review can be boost your name recognition. And then we have to have a chance to voice your opinion. Yes, book reviews are partly summary of the book and partly your opinion about the book. And that second part means that you have an opportunity to voice your opinion. Sometimes you can bank on that the authors of the book will actually read your opinion, which can be a rare treat for early scholars. Okay, let's move on to how it's practically done. The first part is to initiate the process. You need to agree on the book review with the book review editor. Journals that publish book reviews have book reviews editors, and these are the persons that are in charge of what books will be reviewed by whom, and they give you the assignment, they give you the time span, and you need to get to an agreement with a book review editor about the book you're decided to do. Now, how can you decide on the book? So some book review editors publish lists of books they are currently considering for review, and you need to pick from the list the book you like the most, write back to them, and they usually just agree and send you on your way and tell you how much time do you have until you need to come back with the review itself. Now, another way to do it is to offer a book yourself. That is, offer a book that you came across that you want to review, assuming that the book is new enough, and offer it to the book review editor. Ask them if you can review that book. And this can also work. I did it myself once, and once they give you the green light, you just review the book and send them the text. What you shouldn't do is not talk to the book review editor. You shouldn't just choose a book, review it, and try to publish it. First, it can be that in that particular journal they already reviewed that book, or it's under review currently by someone else. And second, it can just be a waste of your time. So go ahead and get in touch with the book review editor, and this way you don't waste your time. Now, with regards to how to review the book, so first you need the copy. And there can be a physical copy or an electronic copy. It used to be, of course, before the digital revolution, that all copies were physical, and you would spend a few weeks waiting, a few days or a few weeks, it depends where you are and where the book is, waiting for the book to be sent to you for review. On the flip side, you usually ended up with the book afterwards in your library. I personally prefer working electronically, so I just ask for an electronic version of the book, a PDF. It's of course much quicker. You don't have to wait for anything. You just read the book and then review it. But people still are offered physical copies of books. So I do know some people do opt to wait for a physical copy. With regards to reading and writing the review itself, there's not much to tell there. Of course, you should allocate enough time for that. Some books are very long, and you should also allocate this time because you want to do a good job and a fair job to the authors who read in the book, and do not, skip or skim through the text. Once you have written the review itself, many times you send it as an email attachment to the book review editor. Other times you just submit it through the journal publishing process, as if you were submitting anything else, like a journal article or a commentary. And there's just an option of a book review. Okay, So last on our list is what to avoid when it comes to book reviews. So first of all, first on the list is misrepresenting the reviewed book. Obviously, we all read books and analyze them from our scholastic perspective or our own theory of reality. Still, the authors of the book usually have invested a few years into the monograph or edited book you are reviewing. And I urge you to try to get deep into the way of their thinking, deep into their arguments, complex as they may be, and represent these complexities and this nuance in your book review. As a person who have written a monograph which received 2 book reviews, I can tell you it's disheartening when people reduce the richness of what you have written into a few oversimplified ideas. A second thing to avoid is giving the summary part too little room. So some scholars are so eager to get to their own critique about the book that the summary is too short. So a good book review has a balance between summarizing well, giving enough information for scholars, so they will understand what the book contains, what it doesn't contain. So they will have the right expectations when they come to read the book, if they come to read the book. A third problem is just focusing on what interests you. So we all have specialities within fields and within subfields, but not everyone in the field shares our specialities. And so when you write a book review, you cannot just focus on your own perspective, your own interest in that book from your own specialities. You should think about other types of readers of that journal, of that academic journal, and ask yourself, what does interest them, and try to reflect that in the book review. And last in our list is not offering critical perspective. So I talked earlier about scholars too eager to come with their own critique, that they make the summary of the book too short or lacking detail. But then you have some people who come with only intention to summarize the book and with little to no intention to criticize it in some way, to give any perspective on it. Now, that's a problem as well, because this is not an AI summary of a book. Book reviews are assigned to scholars in order for those scholars to offer something extra. And that thing extra is their perspective about the book from whatever they know about the topic. And so I do urge you, offer this critical perspective within the book review. When you offer this critical perspective, this is your value proposition here. That's it. I hope I gave you enough information to not be intimidated to write a book review of your own. If you have any question or comment, please direct them to the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you the next time.